For joining us for our discussion of Malama Cultural Park today. We're all excited here to get started on the project and have our first round of public meetings. This is our second meeting. So we had multiple opportunities for folks to come in case anybody was busy in the evenings. They had an opportunity to come in the morning time and join us. So this meeting will be recorded, and if anybody is coming on late and misses any material, feel free to access this presentation on the DHHL website, and you can catch up on anything that you may have missed. So I want to begin by just taking a moment to acknowledge the groundwork laid by Prince Kuhio and the many hands that have led to us being able to have this conversation tonight. Prince Kuhio led the effort to create the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act in 1920, 100 years ago. It was Prince Kuhio's vision to ensure a healthy Hawaiian community. And part of that effort involved the stewardship of the natural and cultural resources, as well as building community. And that's why we're here tonight to discuss the park. So in the spirit of the founder of DHHL, I'd like to introduce Kavika to lead us in Pule. Kavika, take it away.
Hey, mahalo, Cody. So as I shared with, every time I share the opportunity every time I have the opportunity to share in Pule, I'm always reminded of my father's words, who he himself was a kahu out in Waianae for many, many years and has since passed on. But he would always say something to the effect of, whenever we gather together to come with one mind, one thought, one spirit, that is the embodiment or the true essence of aloha. And as we come to understand aloha meaning, the highest form of our emotional intelligence as a people, aloha is our connection to place with aloha aina. It's a connection to each other. Aloha kekahi kikahi, and then it's our connection to keakua, so aloha keakua. So in that spirit of aloha, e pule kako. Ko maku makui loko ikalani o te atua manaloa. Mahalo for this opportunity to come together this evening to share with one another the hopes and dreams of Malama Cultural Park. We appreciate the opportunity to share the work that is at hand with this community who has really led this project so many years ago and generations before, that really our role this evening is to take up and uphold that kuleana and trying to move that forward for all to benefit and to take pride and take delight in. So we ask for your presence here this evening, Keakua, to help guide our thoughts, inspire us, enlighten us in things that we cannot perceive ourselves. As we engage in this conversation, let us also be kind and respectful to just a variety of perspectives and thoughts that might be shared. And as we continue to dwell on these things and try to plan in something that's good for this community, good for our people, we ask you to just continue to bless us throughout the evening. And as we end this meeting, we also ask for your blessings to be with each of us and our families. We know this particular time in our history and this global experience we are experiencing with COVID has such a huge effect on all of us in different kinds of ways, some more intimate and impactful than others. So we just ask you for your mantling tonight, Keakua. Shelter us in your love, shelter us in your care, especially those who are in the greatest need, to be reminded of your love for them and that you have not forgotten them and that you are thinking and are there to help them in their time of need. So all these things we lay before your feet, Keakua, and kainoa Yesu Christo, and I know na tupuna te nohone, ta na tupuna ke kupane, mahaloa piha, a mama o noa, amen. Back to you, Cody.
Mahalo, Kavika. So the meeting tonight will involve two parts. Part one will include an informational presentation. There's an overview of the purpose and the need of the project. And part two will involve a group discussion, and we can share our ideas and mana'o for the park. listed here are some of the key points we'll be touching on today. We will introduce the Malama Cultural Park project and the project team, share the purpose and scope of the Malama Cultural Park project, define the goals, process, and expectations for the special area plan, reflect on our understanding of the Malama Cultural Park INA and past planning efforts, initiate a conversation about where we go from here, evaluate strategies, challenges, needs, and concerns, and finally identify how you prefer to participate in the planning process. And just a final note on that, the agenda will be the same for both days. Yesterday's meeting and today's meeting are essentially the same. We just wanted to offer multiple opportunities for folks to join us. So with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Perlene to tell us a little bit about DHHL and to introduce the DHHL team.
Thank you, Cody. Aloha, everyone, and good evening. On behalf of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, I'd like to welcome you all. I'm Perlene Fukuba, and I'm a planner at the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. I'll also serve as the project manager for this project. So please feel free to reach out to me and talk story at any time. The DHHL's mission is to manage the Hawaiian Homelands Trust effectively and to deliver lands to Native Hawaiians. An important cornerstone of that is that we partner with others to build healthy communities. And tonight's meeting is the start of a series of community discussions. So again, thank you for joining in. I'd like to introduce the DHHL project team. Listed on this slide are the staff that are contributing to this process. The planning office will be the lead for the special area plan, and our planning manager, Andrew Choi, and grant specialist, Gigi Ong Cairo, are providing oversight for this project. The land management division manages all of DHHL's non-homestead assets, and Shelley Carrera will be guiding us with her expertise. And Mona Kapaku is a Maui District branch chief from our Homestead Services Division, and she brings valuable insight to the process. And we will rely on her experience to let us know what is doable as we develop the special area plan. And of course, all of the staff are so grateful for our leadership, our executive board, the Hawaiian Homes Commission. And we'd like to extend our deepest mahalo to Molokai Commissioner Zachary Helm. He has a wealth of experience in public service. He has dedicated over 30 years of working with the Department of Parks and Recreation and is the former district supervisor for the Molokai District. So mahalo, Commissioner Helm.
Thank you.
Back to you, Cody.
Okay. Thank you so much, Perlene. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to Kavika to tell us a little bit about who we are as G70 and what our role is in this project. Take it away, Kavika.
Yeah, so mahalo again, Cody. Aloha, everyone. Thank you again for making time this evening to spend with us. We know, how busy everyone is, and especially in this time of COVID, we have to find a better way to describe that. But, we all have kuleana now that perhaps has just exponentially grown over the last few months. But just to share a little bit about who we are and our sincerest apologies, because for us as planners in what we do, we always want to plan with the community and preferably face-to-face on the AINA, listening and learning. So Group 70 is a planning, design, engineering company that's been in business since 1971. So we are nearly 50 years old. We, again, local base. We've been blessed to do a lot of projects over the years with DHHL, and specifically on Molokai. We've been able to participate and help with the Molokai Island Plan back in the early 2000s. And as recently in the last few years with the Kanakaloloa Cemetery Pavilion, the whole Lehua Veteran Center, and through our engineering group, various water infrastructure projects in primarily whole Lehua. We're also at present helping other clients on island, including the Ka'ohano Kalapapa with the Kalapapa Memorial Project, as well as lending support to the County Fire Department looking at a new station there on Molokai. So again, we appreciate being here this evening to share with you this project, trying to support DHHL on its mission. And we look forward to the time ahead and the months to come as we work together on this plan. So mahalo nui. I guess for next slide, excuse me, to introduce our team, I want to be sure that we're bringing together the best of folks that lend their talents to servicing Molokai. And so from the planning team, we have Cody, who will be our primary planner. We're supported by Janice Jensen, who is not just our community outreach specialist, but she'll also be helping us with the natural resource management study or the biological study for this area. Ms. Kira Ramos is our wonderful planning intern that's been with us for a few years and just entered planning school. So we hope when she's out with her degree that she can become a permanent full-time member with our team. Also this evening, we have Mr. Ryan Char present. He is our principal for civil engineering, as well as Mr. Kai Akiona Ferryman, who is our primary lead in the civil engineering group. So again, that's our team. We're also supported by sub-consultants who bring their talents of archaeology and cultural resource management to the team. So again, mahalo nui for the time to introduce our team. And back to you, Cody.
Thank you, Kavika. Yeah, and really just to reiterate that the reason why we're here is to listen to you, the community. You guys are the experts. You know this park, you know what this park needs. And our goal is just to help bring your vision of the park to light. So the goal for this plan is really for the community to lead this process. So here's how you can do that tonight. There's two ways you can provide input. One, during the meeting, you can enter in if you have any questions or ideas you'd like to share with us, go ahead and you can select the chat box by moving your mouse down to the screen at the bottom. And there's a button on the menu bar for selecting chat. You can drop in a question to us or just let us know what's on your mind. You can also use the raise your hand button. And you can do that by selecting the participant button at the bottom. And a window will open up where you can select the raise your hand. And that'll let Janice know that you have something to ask to the larger group or some ideas you'd like to share. After the meeting, you can also provide your input through the Malama Cultural Park email at malamaculturalpark@g70.design. So anytime you'd like to chat with us, let us know your ideas, shoot us an email. Also throughout the night, we'll be having some polling questions. So there'll be opportunities to provide your input that way as well. These presentation slides, as well as the recording of this video, will be provided on the DHHL website as well. So most of you folks probably know this park pretty well, pretty familiar with this area, but just in case, I want to provide an overview of the area. The Malama Cultural Park is located on the southern portion of the island of Molokai, just south of the town of Kaunakakai. So you can see here there's two areas shown, a yellow line and a red line. So the Malama Cultural Park is actually divided between two landowners. The portion shown in red is the area owned by DHHL. The other portion is owned by the County of Maui. And for the purpose of this project, we'll be focusing just on the area in the red. Malama Cultural Park is located within the Aopua of Kaunakakai. And that area is roughly the same as the Kaunakakai watershed shown here. And I really like this picture because it really shows the connection of the park to the mountains and to the sea from Mauka to Makai. So the rains from Wailau collect in the mountains and drain through the Kaunakakai Gulch all the way down to the coastline. where those waters have created a lush wetland environment along the coast. So zooming in a little closer here, you see the town of Kaunakakai, located just here to the north. Mauna Loa Highway, located here. Kaunakakai Place, leading out towards the wharf. And you can see here the waters from Kaunakakai Gulch, bringing in the waters here to the coastline. You can see some of that wetland environment shown here. Some of that wetland environment is also within the park itself. This area shown in green is a present wetland. You'll also notice the wetlands over here to the west. Also to the west is the Molokai Yacht Club, located right here. You also notice some industrial uses surrounding the park area as well. And again, I realize this probably is familiar for a lot of folks, but just wanted to review some of the highlights and key features of the park for you. Access to the park is from Kaunakakai Place, seen here, and you can enter into the park area through Hio Place and into the existing parking lot area on the Mauka side, or there's some parking as well on the western portion near the Yacht Club. There's also another smaller parking area just here, down here by the Canoe Club area. There's a beautiful coastline here, beautiful sandy beach. Along there is where some of the canoe clubs have set up shop to launch the canoes. You can see that wetland, again, shown here in green. There's also a historic platform site located in this area. And this platform was once the vacation home for King Kamehameha V. And that platform still exists today. Here in the central part of the park, you'll find a comfort station. And there's bathrooms and showers located here. You'll notice it's right on the boundary and actually on the county-owned portion of the park. Again, this figure shows the park area shown in yellow, and again showing the pink area owned by DHHL. This portion owned by Maui County. So this area in pink was previously owned by the state of Hawaii and was transferred to DHHL in 2011. And DHHL accepted this land mainly because it would provide a cultural and recreational opportunity in the central location of the island and maintain a Hawaiian sense of place, as well as access to the shoreline. In 2018, the Hawaiian Homes Commission designated the Malama Cultural Park as a special district land use, with the goal of preserving and protecting the significant natural, historic, and community resources at the park. So the special district is a type of DHHL land use designation. And special district lands are areas that require special attention because of unusual opportunities or constraints. So this might include natural hazard areas, open spaces that require preservation, greenways, or the presence of historic sites and endangered species. This figure helps to give an idea of where the special area plan fits into the overall DHHL planning framework. So we're focusing right here on this land use category. And so in this system, once an area has been designated by the commission as a special district, it requires that a land use plan be created called a special area plan. And that's the focus of this particular project for the Malama Cultural Park. So what is a special area plan? A special area plan is meant to be a more detailed and site-specific plan that focuses on specific development priorities and the management of the place. It identifies how to steward the natural and cultural resources and also determines whose kuleana it is to maintain these resources. So to help develop this plan, we will be conducting a series of studies that help us understand the history of the site and its existing conditions. Because when we're developing a plan, we always want to make sure that we're listening to what the INA is telling us. So these studies really are the building blocks that we'll use as the foundation of our plan and will help us identify the opportunities and potential challenges that exist at the site. But most importantly, the plan is intended to be guided by you, the community. So this is your plan. Your mana'o is key in formulating the recommended projects and management actions for the park. So this past July, we reached out to a small group of community leaders to introduce the project and the project team, and also determine the best path forward for convening future meetings in this COVID environment that we're presently in right now. So from our initial conversation with those community leaders, we learned that several attendees had participated in previous planning efforts for the park. And some folks shared a frustration that many of the objectives proposed in these earlier plans had never fully come into fruition. Another topic that was discussed was how we should go about having these meetings. So ordinarily, we'd like to be there in person with you to have this conversation face-to-face over some Molokai hot bread and, just really working in person on this. And, unfortunately with COVID-19 and with the travel restrictions that we're dealing with right now, we've had to put a pause on all of our in-person meetings. And, we'd like to be there, but obviously the safety of the community comes first. So we reached out to the community leaders during this meeting, and they told us that, although they prefer to meet in person, it was better just to go ahead and press forward in the planning process now, do these meetings virtually until it was safe to meet again in person. And lastly, we heard from multiple people about the concern of sea level rise and flooding at the park. Some of those folks asked if a geologist could come and visit the park and study the shoreline area for erosion and potential future impacts of sea level rise. All right, so this brings us to our first round of polling questions. So in a moment, a window will appear on your screen with a series of questions for you to answer. So if you're connecting in from a smartphone device, you can use your finger to scroll through the questions and select your answers, or you can use your mouse if you're calling in from a computer. There's a total of 5 questions. You'll need to complete all 5 of those before submitting, and you'll notice that not all the questions are shown right away, so you'll need to scroll down to see all those. And when you're finished, we'll review those results and see how everyone answered. So we'll just give everyone a moment.
And Cody, while they're taking the poll, we did have a question come up in the chat from Anuhea. She asks, whose kuleana is the bathroom, county or DHHL?
Thank you for that question. That's a very good question. And as far as we understand, the comfort station is located on the county of Maui's portion of the park, and the Department of Parks and Recreation is responsible for the maintenance of that facility at present. So we are looking for opportunities for collaboration as part of this plan. So we've reached out to Department of Parks and Recreation and would really like for them to be a partner in this planning process to help solve some of those maintenance issues that exist today.
Hello, Cody. This is Anuhea Ka'ai. Can you hear me?
Sure can, loud and clear.
Okay, mahalo. This is my first time. Thank you. And I agree. I see only 11 of us attending tonight. And myself and Uncle Zach, we live on Hawaiian homelands. So it's just saddening to see that only 2 of us appear tonight in the meeting. But I have some questions. And I saw that some of your concerns match my concerns because the cultural park, not many people use it, but a lot of homeless have been recently, using the park. So, but one ohana has taken it upon their own kuleana to clean that area up. And I mahalo them. And so if the bathroom is on the county line, the water line is on the DHHL line or the county line? And how many members attended the first meeting? And of those members available who attended, were they DHHL beneficiaries or land leases? And then if it is for the beneficiaries to use and Malama, that's the kuleana that's the ideal situation you guys looking at. So how do the beneficiaries know when or what, they can do on that line? Because there is no clear line, yeah, between the county and the DHHL. Sorry, I have plenty of questions. Mahalo.
Well, thank you for that question, and thanks for joining us tonight. So we did have a meeting yesterday afternoon, and we had, I believe it was about 15 or 16 folks who attended, and I believe all of them were DHHL beneficiaries. So I was very happy to see that. We had a great conversation. That meeting will also be posted on the DHHL website, so that'll be available if you would like to review some of the highlights and discussion of that. So as far as the issues with the comfort station, that is something that's located on the county side, and it's something that we're very aware of that issue, some of the lack of maintenance that's happened in the past. So we do hope to address those issues as part of this plan and to collaborate with Maui County on how we can work together to solve some of these issues. So mahalo for sharing your thoughts on that and letting us know, and we will be looking at that as part of this plan.
Before I end the polling, I did see a hand come up from Ahupua'a o Molokai. So are they available? Are they ready to chat? Can you unmute yourself?
Aloha.
Hey, aloha.
Hi. I just wanted to share with Anuhea that we're sitting in and representing 5 different homestead associations. So I want her to know that the Homestead Association has represented here on their behalf. That's all I wanted Anuhea to know.
Mahalo.
Hey,
But
mahalo.
Cody, so the water line that is on the that bathroom is on the county line. Is the water coming out of the DHHL side or the county line?
Yeah, this is Ryan with G70, and I don't know if you were on, but I'm one of the engineers. Let me turn on my camera. Sorry. Just always, I try not to be super invasive, but we believe that the water line is on the county's system. So the DHL system does not serve this area of Kanakakai. So, but I don't, whether that's on county, I believe it's on county property too. But I don't know if we have a good topographic survey of the park, but hopefully that answers your question, that the sewer and the water are both served by county systems.
Mahalo, mahalo. Maybe I gotta attend more meetings, yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Ryan.
Okay with you, Cody, I'm gonna go ahead and end the polling now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna review the results. Can you folks see the results being displayed now? So the first question was, did you participate in any of the prior planning efforts for the Malama Cultural Park? And we had one answer, one did not participate. Question 2, How often do you visit the Malama Cultural Park? Only for special occasions. So for question 3, is the park a safe and welcoming place for all people on Molokai? Survey says some groups or people may feel unsafe or left out. And question 4, what type of activities do you come to the park to enjoy? Looks like canoeing was the top answer. How do you typically access the park? By personal automobile? All right. So good information there, and we'll continue on. So we understand that a lot of hard work and effort went into making some of those previous plans for the park. And we really want to acknowledge that effort by reflecting on those past plans and see what from those plans should be carried forward and where we can build upon those efforts based on new information or new desires by this generation. So just as an overview, before the park parcels were transferred to DHHL, the State of Hawaii Department of Economic Development and Tourism proposed the development for the entire 12-acre park area. So that was inclusive of both the state-owned lands as well as the county-owned portions of the park. And that project resulted in the creation of a master plan for the park. The purpose of that plan was to develop a public park which would provide a focal point for Molokai's history and culture. And this figure shown here is the outcome of that master plan. And this image might look familiar to some of you folks. We went ahead and just updated that version to make it a little clearer and a little easier to read. But this is virtually the same concepts that were shown in the 1995 plan, just updated for you today. And I just wanted to go through some of the highlights of that plan with you and discuss some of these concepts. So the first 1995 plan called for the conservation of the wetland areas. These were viewed as a potential educational area as well, where signs and information about the species of plants and animal life could be posted and explained. The plan also considered the construction of an overlook or viewing area, so visitors could come and look out over the wetland and see those birds and plants. The plan also called for the preservation of the Malama platform. The plan considered removal of any trees or other vegetation that may be growing near that platform and sending roots out that could push up those rocks and damage the platform. The plan also called for the construction of a visitor center located adjacent to the Malama platform called the Hale Malama. And this was an area where information about the history and significance of the platform and as well as the area could be posted. This area would have walkthrough displays as well as a projection space for films and video displays. Also next to this building would be a kupuna area. And this was an area meant to be shaded in trees where kupuna could gather and talk story and meet. And the area was to be designed in a conversational arrangement so that the seating would be in a circular area so that everyone could, the design would stimulate conversation. The plan also called for the construction of an amphitheater. So this would be a grassy, sloped lawn area for outdoor performances or hula or live music. There would be large trees planted on the backside to provide shade. So those trees are shown here. And behind the stage, there would be another structure built. And this could be a pavilion with the backstage area. This area was called to have a toilet and a dressing room. Located on this area, the plan called for the construction of a language immersion school. So this would be a space where keiki could come together to learn the Hawaiian language and culture. The plan also called for the construction of a canoe hale, as well as a beach support building. And both of these structures would be designed in a traditional Hawaiian construction practice. And the beach support building could be used for luau preparation, for cleaning fish, and would also be equipped with showers and toilets. The plan called for the construction of an arts and crafts building. So this would be an area for gathering and making local crafts. Workshops and demonstration rooms could be here. And this place could also be used as a marketplace for selling those goods. And this building was also designed to have a public toilet. This plan called for improving the parking area by paving the area with asphalt pavement and including stalls for 139 cars total. The plan included these orientation kiosks and signages that would be located the main entryways. So these areas would have maps and information about events happening in the park. So located in the park is a historic building, a jailhouse that was once used to as a prison for Japanese people during World War II era. So this building is not in its original location. It's been moved several times and has finally made it to the park as its final resting place. And it's in pretty bad shape. You can see here in the picture, it's pretty dilapidated, falling apart. It's a bit of a safety hazard. And even back in 1995, it was called for the removal of this building from the park. And as you can see, that building is still standing and still poses a potential hazard. Just in general, the 95 plan called for the inclusion of landscaping with native plants, trees, and shrubs. It also called for improving the safety of the park with site lighting throughout the park to improve the visibility at nighttime. So only a few of these actions from the 1995 plan actually were ever realized. So that includes a portion of the amphitheater area, as well as the construction of the comfort station on the county portion. So that was actually never called for in the 95 plan, but the plan did call for the inclusion of bathrooms, and that is something that did come into existence, although not as in the original form. Okay, so now we can have another round of polling questions. So in a moment, a window will pop up. You can just use your finger or mouse to select the answer. And we'll review that again together. And there's 3 questions total in this set of questions, so please answer all 3 before submitting the poll.
All right, Cody, we have another question from Anuhea. Has there been any current land survey or measurement?
I just asking because that was in 95. How much land have we lost, you know, with the currents coming in and eating up on the land? Has anybody done any current environmental impact, statements? Has anything more current been done after that? My ohana is all up for kokua and anything. Any way we can help our people, but we just want to make sure, is the land pa'a, is it going to be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that question. And we are looking at the topography. We right now are using LiDAR data. So that's information that comes from usually satellites or from planes that fly overhead and use lasers to track the topography of the land. And it's not 100% accurate, but we can see where the low-lying areas are, where flooding is more likely to happen. And we also have some ideas about how to monitor the coastline and for erosion of the beach. And that's something we'll be sharing with you folks.
And I think this, aloha, this is Kavika. So just to add on to that too, in addition to our cultural resource consultants helping us, Janice will be leading us in trying to understand the natural resources, specifically the wetland, trying to identify not just the species, excuse me, but also kind of looking for patterns, utilizing aerial photos and historic photos to this, basically ascertain what is happening with this system. And I think the other part to this, as Cody is alluding to, for now, we can't be on island to kind of assess some of these things ourselves. But the intention there is that, we can work with you folks as community members to kind of help us document, especially as we're starting to enter periods of, southern swells happening during the winter or significant changes during the rainy season. Almost trying to advocate sort of a citizen science, if you will, of gathering data. And then gathering data could be simply as simple as providing pictures. If there's a storm event or a high surf swell event, I'm doing this to encapsulate pictures here, just to take photos and be documenting the event. That would help us, have as real-time data as possible in conjunction with the LiDAR data that Cody's alluding to, and even looking at other available resources through GIS that can help us delineate the space to what the current conditions are compared to 95.
Thank you, Kavika. And we have a couple more slides coming up, and might help answer some of the questions you have about the topography and the information that we have.
Give it a little bit longer on the poll. I think I'm still waiting on some answers.
We can move forward as well. Do we need a few more seconds for the poll, or? I think we can move on and get to some of the questions that were asked about the topography and some of those issues. Is that okay with you guys?
I'll end the poll.
So just to take a look back at the overall park and discuss some of those unique conditions that exist. As we heard in our discussions with community leaders in July and tonight, there is a concern of flooding and of sea level rise. So you can see in this picture here that there's some low-lying areas where flooding does exist, where waves coming in and that crash over that berm and pool in the back shore area. They have nowhere to go, no drainage, so that just creates ponding in this backshore area. And we're told that even in dry periods that salt can be seen, salt pans form in this region. We also notice that some of the trees shown here are a little dry and maybe not in the healthiest condition. And this could have something to do with that high salt content in the soil as well. So that's something that we will absolutely need to consider as we start developing landscape plans for the park, is thinking about what types of vegetation are really going to thrive and flourish here in the park. So again, we will be listening to the INA to see what types of opportunities and constraints exist at the site. So listed below are some of the specific items that we've begun looking into and will continue looking into. So that includes the topography, the wetland environment, the types of soils and the productivity of that soil, what the shoreline environment is like, whether the beach is experiencing erosion or accretion of sand, the rainfall levels, threatened and endangered species that may exist, cultural and historic sites, as well as cultural uses at the park at present. So we're looking at the hazards as well: flooding, drainage issues, hazardous materials, tsunami, storm surge, sea level rise. We'll also be looking at some of the infrastructure, the roadway access and parking, access for bicyclists and pedestrians, water and wastewater services, as well as electrical utilities. So some of these opportunities and constraints have been mapped out onto the existing site to really help us learn about what is possible at the site and also determine what areas we really need to pay close attention to as part of this plan. So just to go over it a little bit with you, these areas shown in orange, these are historic sites that have been identified by our archaeologists. So that includes the Malama platform shown here, which again was the site of King Kamehameha V's summer vacation home. There's this historic railroad way station. So at one time, goods coming into the island were loaded onto this scale to weigh before loading onto the train and sent up into the interior of the island. There's also the historic jailhouse located here, which is still there and in pretty bad shape. And also there's a historic pier that can be seen coming off the shoreline. The wetland area shown here, and this is an area that really has to be preserved. There can't be any development that happens within this wetland environment. The shoreline setback is shown here with this red dashed line. So this is a set measurement away from the coast where no new development can happen within this area without special variances in place. All this area shown in blue is areas that could be flooded with with projected sea level rise by mid-century. So this is 3.2 feet of sea level rise, which the scientists say is possible by about 2050. And you can tell that a good portion of the park could be impacted by that flooding. You may notice that these areas here where the amphitheater and the hula stage are located, these areas are safe, or projected to be safe from that, that inundation. So that gives us an idea of where things may need to be elevated to if we were to build any new structures to protect them from that future sea level rise. This area is shown in pink. This is areas where the topography is pretty low-lying, where we do know that ponding is occurring presently, so that area will get bigger over time as the sea levels rise as well.
I think on that, Cody, if you can go back to that slide real quick. Excuse me. the more I think about it, the more understanding sort of the interactive living system, Mauka to Makai, right? What's happening up in Wailua? Are we getting the same amount of rain? Is the water flowing, different times of the years at the same rate? How's it interacting with the shoreline? Have things changed with that pattern coming in, as well as, of course, the change of coastal tides and impacts of sea level rise? So to me, the living system, the wetlands itself too, is going to become, I think, an essential piece to the puzzle, right? To essentially be that defensive. Well, there's two ways you can look at it: as a defense against, the impacts of sea level rise and the ocean coming in, or from another perspective, welcoming the forces of Kanaloa such that we can introduce a palette of more salt tolerant trees, shrubs, perennials that can be planted with purpose and creating sort of a contiguous landscape. There's precedence for that in other areas that are also trying to address this coastal impact. I know there's studies that go back at least almost 20 years through different sources like CTAR, which is the Tropical Ag Program at UH, and others who are trying to understand other solutions than non-natives as a source of that, right? Because oftentimes, in times past, people would plant things like Norfolk pine or ironwoods as salt tolerant barriers, if you will. But there is pa'u hi'iaka, pohinahina, akulikuli. I mean, there are things in our native palette too that could work. Now, whether they're conducive to this landscape, to this aina, I mean, that's some of the research and things we'll have to do, and hopefully the wetland study can maybe help us glean what selection of plants may work. Anyway, spending more time than I meant to on this, but I think as I'm thinking about it now, the wetland is, I think, a key to a lot of what happens beyond that in terms of the built environment and what we want to provide for in terms of community needs. So just off the cuff thinking at the moment. Thank you.
Mahalo Kavika, and my hula background is just, I think everything, gotta remember, just keep in mind the protocol, of the aina and the mana that, even though it might look barren, like you said, Kanaloa is, the presence of it is there, he's there.
Polole, mahalo.
So this actually concludes this end of the first portion of the presentation tonight. So I think we can go ahead and stop the recording and open it up to a group discussion.